And that is what, when I think of the summer, there's a couple songs, and I've shared this with you before, that I think about. And one of them is Fresh Prince, Summertime. Another one is Don Henley, Boys of Summer. That song resonates really deep with me. I had the LP, the single LP, and I remember I had a Fisher Price record player. And my friends would try to clown me. But honestly, that Fisher Price played crisp. It was a crisp hitter. And that's where I started my vinyl collection, where I still have, it was kind of funny because I started my vinyl collection at that age. And it was before I was getting into cassettes. I've always loved music. Always loved music. It's been a passion of mine for my whole entire life. So I would get a vinyl, and I'm very happy that I lived during that time where that was the only thing people were listening to at that time. They went from the transition from the 8-track to the radio player, or you'd listen to the radio. You would purchase the 8-track, and then the vinyl was released. And that was where I really established my love for music. And that's where I would start off with, I have a lot of singles, like little 45s. And that song was on there. And I know there's a Spotify like playlist or Apple playlist or it's a tracker that lets you know how many songs that you listen to. How many times, like during the year, like when the new year rolls around, it'll say, you listen to this song 700 times. And it could be that many if you just have that thing on repeat. And I would say Don Henley's Boys of Summer would probably be in my top 5 songs I've ever listened to. Because even as an adult, I find myself listening to it and just revisiting it. And what's ironic about it, and I don't even think this is irony coming from a teacher, English teacher of that sort, that the song is about basically the reflection and the perception of the past. And as a man, in a way, looking back at his life, especially his young, because the summers, I said this in the last episode, hit different as a kid. As you become an adult, it just seems to mesh together, a lot of it. Summers don't stick out as a kid. The nostalgia of a summer is what is a big part of the summer, I feel like. And so it's that perception when you look back at it and you think about it. That song is about that. Just those summers, and there's a lot of incredible lyrics that just hit home when you think about, the Boys of Summer, as this man is going to pretty much express his love to this woman because it's not a fling. The summer is when you might have a summer affair. You might find that lover. You might find that connection, and it's not going to last very long. This man was saying, looking back at his life, and he said, nah, this was real. This was something that I strongly believed in. And I'm going to still be here standing afterwards. It's a big part of that song. It's not a superficial love. It's a love that is forever lasting, and it's never going to die. Because let's face it, when you are older and you run into one of your past loves, and I'm talking as older, wiser, this is where the wisdom kicks in, and this is where a lot of you young folks really pick up and learn about life when I give these gems. And then you older listeners, you are like, you might resonate with it, you might kind of feel it, you might not, but I'm just giving you my perspective. But if you have a lover and you run into them older, and they might have a whole new life together, they might have children, a new husband, and this has happened, in the past. There's always this connection because you did have that period of time together that you loved one another, and you had a passion. And even though it didn't last all the way through, it was a strong, strong time in your life that you look back on. And in that moment, you really were in it and you believed it. And it, of course, it didn't pan out to be forever. But it's something that's definitely going to define you, because the experiences that we go through in life define us, even if they're unpleasant. And that's something that I've learned as I'm older, and I get older, is the fact that you have these experiences that you racked up and you might have been miserable. I remember a few summers ago, I was touching up on, 236? That's a fat, that's a fat piece of crap. And then I fat shamed myself in the mirror for about a year later during that summer. And now I'm not where I want to be, but I'm getting there. And even though that was a miserable time, and I wasn't probably hitting all my P's and Q's because I was eating those P and J's, getting fat. I was eating that cheese dip, and I'm an idiot because I'd already expressed my addiction to candy. I'm addicted to candy. I'm crazy about candy. And I've had you got to cut that, you got to cut that out. And then and when I got off candy, I started being addicted to ice cream. I'm an idiot. And, that was going through there. So, but I look at that phase of just feeding my fat face and not being very happy as a person. And there's been, there's been some stretches throughout the past that actually does go on. But you learn from those. It's not wasted time. It's an experience. When you have those relationships that don't work out, there were so many highs. Especially if you stayed in it for a while. Sometimes they're abusive. And I've been in some, not physically abusive, but when someone's playing some games and it's just not healthy for both parties. And I'm not saying I wasn't. I've never played games, or you just learn. You learn how you can't treat people a certain way. You learn that you're worthy and you should not be treated like crap. You get some self-worth. That's an experience. Even though you spent years in a bad relationship, it's not too late to get out and start loving yourself. If you're in it's easy to speak on the behalf of, and I've mentioned this, but if you're addicted, and I could say that I was fat and I was addicted to food, but it's not the true addiction, even though it's a form of addiction. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm a victim of any sort, because there's real addictions out there. So there's addictions to drugs, there's addictions to alcohol, and there's definitely real addictions to overeating. Salt and sugar, they're killers. But those experiences and experiencing those dark arts, those horrible lows, those times that you're really at the bottom. It might be a little bit cliche to say, a little bit of a cliche to say, but those times really do define you, because those are the ones, are you going to overcome that? So those are the experiences that, when I think about the boys of summer, I think about all my relationships, and it might not even be romantic. The song is about a summer romance, because the boys of summer in that context is saying everything. You just want to find that girl for the summer, just that passion. It's beautiful. It's beautiful to have that summer fling, especially right when you get off to college, to have that special someone. Knowing when you're practical that it's not going to work out, but actually living in that moment, because that is something that's very hard to do. And as a young person, if you can find yourself doing that, when you look back at it, that's a nostalgic moment. That's just like, we had a great summer. Me and that girl, me and that guy, whoever you are. And it was real. And it's so funny, because if you did, let's say, had a short fling or short romance, and you ran into them, might be a year, 2 years, 20 years later, you are civil and you have different lives now, but there's a sense of appreciation for maybe the past and what you've experienced. And it is, I would actually honestly say it's really, I'm genuinely happy to run into the person. And I'm glad to see that they're happy. And that's another part of growth and getting older. It's just not being, even if it's not a very clean breakup, letting time pass and just kind of learning from the situation. And that song hits in a different way because I think about that. The things of the past and what the reality is. And it's, yeah, you can sit here and think about what could have been. But I'm not going to harp on that at any minute because I just realize when we made our little trip to the Outer Banks, spontaneous trip to the Outer Banks, man, that was a good time. That was a fun, great, amazing time. And in that moment, it was authentic and it was real. And that is more powerful than, it's so powerful when you look and you've lived your life. And it's something that you can look at and you just give that nod. I give the nod. I don't give the salute. That would be hokey. But I give that nod like we had that moment. And it was real. Even if it was a weekend. It was real. If it was a year, 2 years, we had some good times. We had some quality times. And I was thinking about the power of that. But I also was thinking about this. And I was talking to a friend about this. And we mentioned something. And this ended up being what I gathered from it. On the other side of that, of what I just explained, like looking back at old past relationships that maybe did not work out, but in the same sense had a strong part in building who you are as a person. Isn't it crazy, just rhetorically, that you could be so close with someone and have a genuine connection with someone of love and affection? And it could be romantic, it could not be romantic. I could be also talking in that sense. But in this case, I will talk about relationships and love because that's what I do. I'm an expert because I'm the lonely uncle. Isn't it insane that you could spend a year, months, a decade, 2 decades with a person and spend every single moment with them in a relationship. And then all of a sudden, when it ends, you never, ever, after every day for the last 10 years, 15 years, whatever, every day knowing where they were, what their favorite things were, what their quirks were. You know, when you were making love, that little thing they did, they might shake their right leg like a dog or something, or you know, they might do a little shaky shake. They chew with their mouth open. You know, how they're eccentric. That's how close you got to know them. You know everything about them. Their sleep pattern. You know exactly where the favorite things even like the subtle nuances of a relationship, which you pick up on it. Every day, you and that person were together. And then something happens, and all of a sudden, you are not with that person anymore. You decide to break up, and you never speak again. That blows my mind. So that's the other part of what I was talking about. You know? That's the other part I was just speaking of. Because I did say those moments defined us, but on the other hand, it's insane that someone that you would spend day after day after day of your life with, you would break out of any kind of daily communication or any communication at all, and you would never speak with them again. I had a friend that I would never ask him about his ex-wife, but they've been breaking up for about 10 years now. And I just was in amongst more friends, and I just realized and picked up on it when he said this. He was talking about her. She just came up in a conversation, and he said that he's not friends with her on socials, and he pretty much cut any contact because it was a toxic relationship towards the end with any kind of family of hers, and he literally does not know if she's even alive. And that is another that's just another thing that completely blows my mind, that that's a reality. And that's how, as human beings, we'll all have like friendships like that. Because I know growing up, my age, we didn't have the socials. So if you didn't rekindle that, or if you didn't reconnect when the socials became big, some of the people in my past are just there. And sometimes I think about them, and sometimes I might look them up and try to get in contact with them, and other times I don't. For whatever reason. I can't say why or why not, depending on the time of the life. I mean, I thought about a kid in elementary school, and I was thinking about looking him up, and I was like, there's a good chance he might not even remember me. We were just those third grade G's. And all I remember is that everybody else, all those other busters out there, were drinking those little hitters and the little, you remember those little colored drinks that look like they were in a barrel and they were like colored? I remember people used to always hit those. They always used to drink those. That's what the kids drink, because it was sugar, straight sugar to that dome. They'd be coming in after lunch with that high off that whatever it was, that barrel hitter, that sweet barrel hitter. And I remember me and this dude, we always drank the milk. I love milk. Even to this day, I love milk. And I had somebody that was somebody who would try to get on me about the foods. And they were a vegan. And there's nothing, only thing you have to do with a vegan is just kind of listen to them talk, and they'll talk about it for a long time. Because they're not, that's all they got going for them. They're a vegan. That defines their personality. So they got to talk about it, whatever. So somebody judged me recently because I said I drink milk, and they asked me what I was a little kid, and I said yes. I said yes. I will drink some milk. In my coffee, milk. Not almond milk, not that nut butter. You're not squeezing that nut juice. I'm not trying to drink that. What is that anyway? Are nuts, can you milk a nut? I mean, you can milk a nut, but can you milk these nuts? These almond nuts? No. It doesn't even make sense. But you can milk a cow. I saw that at a field trip in elementary school. Talking about elementary school. But I remember we drank that white milk together. And we were the only ones, because you was like the color hitters. It was chocolate milk. Everybody wanted that chocolate milk. And then we had that fat. It just said whole milk on that piece, dude. Just, dude, you don't want your milk? I'll drink your milk. I'll drink your milkshake. Drink it up. Best movie ever. There Will Be Blood. I drink your milkshake. I gotta watch that again so I can quote it and be hip. Bro. But anyway, but I was thinking about looking him up because I was like, man, but I was thinking, another thing I remember really liking him, and we hung out. Man, I had a couple sleepovers, but I mean, our bond was that white milk hitter. You know, those white milkies. We just, drinking, everybody's getting high off sugar. We're just hitting that fat milk. And that's when I knew that I had the discipline to be a great athlete one day and just be an amazing person. Is that little Tom. But I was thinking about calling him up or looking him up, and I really couldn't even remember his last name. I didn't remember how to spell it. I remembered it, but I didn't remember how to spell it, and I tried to do a little search, and sometimes you look him up, and there's either hundreds of the same person or not found. But that was someone I spent a couple years with. Looking back at it, definitely all the friends, all the people you interact with still have some kind of influence on you in some way, even when you're little in some cases. So it's always interesting maybe to link up, but it's wild. It really is. When I think about that song just makes me think. And when I listened to it as a young kid, I wasn't thinking about any of that. I was just thinking about how Don Henley was just ripping up this song and how should he have left the Eagles or should the Eagles get back together? And little did I know they would. They'd have 12 more reunion, this is our last, farewell tours. Because you got to respect that. You got to respect the band that has more than 3 or 4 farewell tours. I said, we're not done yet. I tell you what, I am glad, though, because I caught some of those bands on their farewell tour, and I would have never heard them live. Guns N' Roses were one of them. Boy, I'm so glad I went to that show. I mean, Axl, he's seen better days, but if you live your life like that, if you go that hard, you gotta expect it, you gotta expect to be able to run down, get a little run down. And when you're running from one part of the stage, not even to the other side of the stage, but about a quarter length of the stage, that isn't that long because you already know that you're going to be exhausted and you're breathing pretty hard. But he did it, and Slash was on point. It's good to see him. I always looked up to Slash. He was the coolest. I remember getting that cassette, Appetite for Destruction. You think about what a real education is. It's not the degrees you have. That's so dumb. It's not getting promoted in 7th grade. I just remember getting the cassette of Appetite for Destruction. And it was incredible. Changed my life. So when my vinyl days were over, collecting all those vinyls, like the Don Henley, I remember I was in elementary school listening to that in my room. It was just molding the person I was. I was thinking about what I'm talking about, but on a more juvenile level because I was young and I was just whatever it meant to me. I was probably had a crush on a girl and I was thinking about this or whatever. But now as a grown man, I look back at it and that's what makes music and art great, because you can just reflect on it in so different ways. But then you transition into the cassette tapes, and Appetite for Destruction definitely defined. I'm just props to my parents for actually buying me that. I remember opening it up, man, there was some nudity, and it was a drawing. Follow Slash on Instagram. He has the coolest art. It's really, I would say that it might be, I wonder if that's the same artist that created the actual cassette tape, the actual lyrics, or the whatever that you would call the paper with the artwork and everything that they put in the cassette. They had a really cool, but I remember it was kind of disturbing. I was like, whoa. But then I thought the visual was powerful, but looking back at it, the songs, what they were singing about, I didn't know what half that stuff was. I just knew that I was down. You know, I was just down with Dr. Brownstone. You know, it just first song to the last song, perfection, appetite for destruction. And then you go from LPs. In my life, I grew up on LPs. Then I got on cassettes. And cassettes were cool because you could dub them pretty easy and you could make mixtapes. And getting into hip hop, that really defined a big part of me. And then you would transition into CDs. And looking back at that, CDs had it ran its core. It was a good, I would say, the end of middle school, high school. Cassettes were actually like a short little window for me when I think about it. And I got on the tail end of LPs. So, but CDs ran its course. And now it's digital. But I've gone back to purchasing vinyl. And if I want the physical, but, oh man, digital music is insane. Like, what? I can't even believe it's a thing. I mean, on my fingertips, I can just pretty much pull up anything, and it could just pop up. But pretty much, when I look at back what I've just talked about for 30 minutes, the power of music, the power of the song, all that came from just really processing and listening to what Don Henley was saying. And I wouldn't say there's a complete happiness. I mean, I love the song, but when you think about everything that I just expressed, there's happy points, and there's highs and there's lows. There's the great, beautiful moments that you share with people that define who you are as a person. And then there's how it can just all come to an end and just be nothing for the rest of your life. But again, it's the experiences that you've went through that are actually just kind of pretty incredible and define you as that person. Because human beings are complex, very complex creatures. And you can try to sit here and simplify it, but we have a lot going on. We have highs, we have lows. We're good, we can be bad, we can make mistakes. We can, in some ways, we can treat people really poorly. We can be on the tail end of being treated really, unfortunate. We can have amazing times that we'll cherish forever. We have these times that we just decide that we really want to forget them, and we do our best to forget them because they are just so painful. And that will bring me into my next topic that I want to talk about, and that's the fact that I think we just, as human beings, as we are going through this really tough stretch here, that is totally necessary. I think we're learning a lot about each other with what's going on in our nation with race relations, and just all around as human beings, that we have to remember that we are human beings, and we have to know that we can get better and get right, but we also need to realize and give people a chance to get better, if that makes sense. Because people can change. And I'm in a profession where I strongly believe that people can change. It's really not fair to judge people, I feel, by their lowest moment. I don't think that's fair at all. Because the whole purpose of the journey is to have experiences, learn from your experiences, take something away from it and apply it and become a better person. And for the average person out here trying to basically get it in life, that's the case. There are evil people. And I'm not talking about the anomalies. I'm not talking about the outliers. I'm talking about just the regular person. There's no care. It seems like right now, and I know I'm all into social media when I say this and I speak on behalf of this, but I feel like there's no redemption. There's no character redemption at all. There's no character arc that, if you know anything about literature, if you know anything about art, in some cases, movies, whatever, that, man, TV shows right now are doing a great job at this. There's characters that I remember, like, let's talk about Breaking Bad, and I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but there are times where you just love Walter White. You love Mr. White. You think he's the greatest person ever. And then he'll make some very poor choices, and then you're just like, you kind of detest him for a long time. For maybe an episode or a season or two. Because he's lost in the sauce, right? He's this kingpin now. And then he'll do some things to redeem himself. And then you're like, okay, he's kind of taking care of his business now. He had a rough spell there. And that's a great TV show. When the character arc that's when TV became real. With this character development. And I know I'm comparing real life, but it's the same thing because people judge other people. And as I watch a show, I'll judge this character, and people will judge a person on social media, whoever they are. And I was just thinking about this. But they'll redeem themselves, and you'll be like, that person's okay. But life is long. So that person that's up here might make another decision and kind of slip down. But yet, do some really good. And it's just funny that you have to realize that that's the beautiful thing about life. And I would hate to judge someone based off the first season. When they were down here and they were really basically low on themselves, had horrible self-esteem, made some very poor choices, were in toxic relationships. I don't want to define you there. I want you to get the hell up, dude. And you might not stay up here. You might just you might battle. But you're battling, you're doing some good. You're trying to get it right, man. You were on those menthols. You're on that menthol hitter. On that Winston, you get off of it. You're not doing Winston anymore. You're volunteering at the local foodery because you have a little extra time now. You have more energy in the day, so you can dedicate it to that. So now you're helping people out. Am I going to judge you on the night that you went out and you poo-pooed your pants in a bar or whatever? Because you were just loathing and you just got broke up by, Stacy dumped you. So you just got kicked out of the bar. You diarrheaed on yourself. Your low point. If I think about that, if I judge you by that, of course, you have no shot. But how about if you picked your pants up, you clean those things, you scoop that D out, you freshen them up, you put that Febreze hitter on it. Or maybe you just bought a new pair. Or maybe you just didn't wear underwear. That's a baller move. That's confidence. You just take that zipper down. Hello. And maybe, here you go, you work your way up. And now you got your life back together. You got your job. You got a brand new girl. She's beautiful and she really supports you. Stacy was trash. She was a horrible person. She brought you down. She made you feel guilty of just being yourself. And she manipulated you. But now you're kind of got your feet, under you, and making better decisions, and you're just doing better. It just wouldn't be fair to judge, to ride that person off and just forever say, hey, yeah, remember when Danny doo-dooed his pants? And this is afterwards when he's redeemed himself. He's got a new family. He's volunteered. He's got a good job. He's good for the community. He basically is looking after people. He used to be selfish. Now he's not. Now we're going to judge him back, and we're going to say, well, I'm sorry, in this council culture, I'm gonna fire off a tweet or a post about Danny crapping his pants. If you don't forget, Danny crapped his pants a few years ago. What are we doing? We've got to be better. We've got to support one another and know that love's honestly the answer. Just we got to reach out and just say, hey, Danny was at a low point. Now look what Danny did. He overcame this. He was an addict. He struggled with alcohol. But he overcame it, and now he's doing the right thing. And Danny might slip up, and he might make a couple other mistakes. But there's an arc, character arc. It's just like, it's crazy to compare it to art, but it's just like your favorite show. Man, there were some times I could not stand Walter White. And if you ask me, I might fire off some kind of tweet. If it was real life, about this dude. But then there's some points that when it's all said and done, you got to judge the person. Maybe Walter White isn't the greatest example because he was a drug dealer. But then again, he was a drug dealer and his intentions were to help his family because he was sick. But that turned into something else. But, whatever. You know what I mean. You watch enough shows and you know that you got to let things play out. And I just feel like we have to be able to do that better. Because I feel like this canceling, this tribe, oh, man. If I have another post about read these links, look at these statistics, you better do it, and you better live by this. With that kind of tone, it's okay to bring different perspectives and different opinions, and it's okay to debate. You can't say how woke you are, but yet, if I come out with a different point of view, if I'm real as hell, and I bring out some stuff that I really can stand behind and support, and I don't agree with you, if you're just going to dismiss me, how are we going to get better? That's my thing. Because wokeness, you can be way too woke. That is a huge flaw. Like I see people online all the time. Some people just copy and paste. Read this link. And then somebody that's intelligent and know what's going on breaks it down and questions the person who just cut and paste. Because that's not your words. You need to read that. And why are you cutting and pasting something that long anyway? Do you agree with everything? Why don't you start your own draft? Like, I just feel like I see like these debates and everything that's going on, and it's not as cut and dry. And we just need to be better as people, just having that, bringing together and having that combo. And just being in the same room. And I say this before, social media is not the way to do it, for sure. It's just, it has to be really authentic, real conversations. And I saw something beautiful the other day. It said, feel comfortable with changing your opinion, changing your point of view because of information that you've actually learned. And I think that's valuable. I think that's valuable out there, man. I really do. It's okay to just say, I was wrong. Because there's so much information that's been coming out, especially in the last few months, that you can actually have. But I don't want you posting that and saying, if you don't live by this, if you don't read this and you don't live this, or you don't believe in this, then get out of my face. I don't want that, because we still have to open this up, and things are forever changing. Information is coming out. We are in an information, man, overload, dude. Sometimes I'm like, I can't take any more information out there. And that's what's nuts. So I just feel we have to be careful also. And some people are not, they're just feeding other people's just agenda and just, it's you kind of got to know, what's going on. So I realize this. I know this. Hey, I was going to apologize, and I guess I kind of will. I know this hasn't been a very funny episode, but I just had a couple things on my mind. And I feel like sometimes it's not always about being funny. It's just being somewhat, maybe, you might not think this, but trying to bring up some points to be interesting and just let you think about some things. Maybe you can kind of, self-reflection is underrated. Self-reflection is underrated. I don't think sometimes, I do think you could over self-reflect, and I know that's my problem. I do it too much, because then I break it down and I got symbolism, and I'm breaking down, I'm writing term papers to myself, and I'm grading them, and I'm insane, and I'm like, because I'm all in here. LU is here. And that's not always good. But I think if you're a person who never self-reflects, it's good to self-reflect and just sometimes just take a second and think back. And quarantine has done that. And it's been pretty powerful. I think I would come out this thing as a damn stud. You for real? Damn. I'm going to come out here God, you're going to see me constantly reaching for my rocket, Because I just came in this thing. Hey, yo. Just, constantly, man. Just trying to get better. And I hope you have the same. You were the same. So, that's kind of, that's pretty incredible. So, another thing I was going to think about, or going to mention. It's the 4th. It's coming up. It's that time. But July's hot as hell, and that annoys that annoys me. It does, because it's constant. 96, 97, 101. Oh, we got a cool front coming in. It's only gonna be 90. But then at night it's 81. What? Get colder. Anyway, it's Glizzy season, so if you're that Glizzy gladiator, I was putting out a actual post about, let me see your Glizzy. How do you like your Glizzy? Personally, I just think that's the best thing you can do, and it's actually one of the more simple things to do at a BBQ. That beef frank, putting it up on that fire. And some people like the red ones. Some people like the real dogs. I like those Hebrews. I'm always effing with those Hebrews. And those Nathans. Oscar Mayer got those wieners. Man, those are fire. But I just think it's a simple thing. Toasted buns. You got some fixins. Man, you got to have all the fixins. You got to have fixins. How big are fixins in the grand scheme of things? Fixins are beautiful. I love fixins. But how do you like your glizzy? Send me a picture of your best glizzy. And you can send me a video of you eating the glizzy. Because let's get over this. Some people are giving eating glizzies a bad rap. Glizzies are America. Firing up that glizz. You sit on an open flame. It's like George Washington going down your throat. And that's what it's all about when you look at the 4th, man. Because, man, some people are savages. They're like, F this country. Dude, y'all some crazy people. Hey, remember the character art. It applies to everything. Yeah, we're going through a patch right here. But I think we're going to become a little bit better afterwards, hopefully. We just got to keep fighting. We can't just beat the hell out of ourselves and we have nowhere to go from there, right? So, improvement, dialogue, being open-minded, action, actual real action, not posting, just actually communication, really feeling people, getting understanding. What I've noticed is people think they know what's kind of going on, but when it comes down to it, they don't. They had it. There's a little bit of a misunderstanding. So they just need to kind of go back and educate themselves or just get in it. I love you people. This is episode 44. Thank you for sticking with me. I'm really pleased with, I'm just pleased with you guys tuning in every week, man. I can't believe, when I think about 44 episodes, it really does blow my mind. It really does. And there's a reason why some of you listeners come back, and I do appreciate it. I don't even know, like I said, who most of you guys are. And I probably would be surprised, like, wow, that person listens to it. Like, I talked to somebody recently, and they probably wouldn't want me to know or say their name. But they were like, what are you going to talk about this week? And I was like, what? Because, it is out there. It is out there. But you guys really are receptive. And what I like about it is I talk about certain things, and you might not completely agree with me. You might not think I was funny or whatever, but there's some reason why you come back, and I do appreciate you. And when I make it big, I don't know what I'm gonna make it big in, but just being a person, I guess being big. I guess officially I kind of made it big, right? Is that when Steve Carell says, "That's what she said"? But I love this country. And I love being a person I love being someone that's is available is able to live freely and basically learn and just kind of know that I don't know anything at all, and I just continue to learn about people and just kind of reach out and just kind of gather this understanding, and that I really do appreciate that, and you guys make this happen. One love. Send me a picture of your Glizzy. Glizzy. Send me a picture of your Glizzy. Also, I was watching clips about grizzly bears earlier today and how those are savages. Yeah, but send me a picture of your Glizzy. I love you. I'm gonna be alright. Wait, I got a extra. I'm gonna show this extra clip right here. So thanks. This is for you guys that have been sticking with me for a while. I got a little extra bonus for you. It's I forgot what happened, but I had to reshoot it. Some hot. It is hot out here, baby. It's getting hot. It's getting warm. It's getting warm. Many people thought that 1.9 went away, but it looks like it's here to stay. We're not going anywhere for a while, are we? It's one of those things that I think we closed our eyes and we hoped that it would disappear. But it's not going anywhere. It's kind of crazy. So, I think we have a little long road coming up. I think it's still going to be a reality for a while, that 1.9. Man, could you imagine being in the club in the year 1800? The year's like right at 1800. And you hear that slam. You hear that hitter. And it goes like this. All laid up like in bottle service. And then you hear this right here. You hear. What? that's pretty incredible. That's pretty incredible. And if you haven't heard, you didn't see the reports, that was just released. They were saying that Beethoven is a black man. So officially, the fifth was the first banger. And I couldn't even imagine. Could you imagine being in the club with J Dubs or G Dubs? Man, G Dubs is over there. Just got broke out for freedom. Just ran the show. Got our independence. And then it seems like always the follow up to a banger is like a slow, sexy song, right? It's like a slow, sexy single. So I was thinking about then you heard in like a month and a half or so when the fifth drops and everybody's like in the club, bottle service, America's free, and then you got the slow jam. Yeah, this would be that jam if you were up in the club. I remember this used to be back in the day. I still go to the club regularly. But we're talking about bangers. And so you would go up and you would ask your girl to dance, or you just kind of, back in the day, you just kind of stepped on the dance floor and you just started gyrating your hips. And, you usually had a routine that you might have practiced. Most of my junk was improvisation. And if you don't know what that is, that means basically when you just kind of you feel your body and it's deep down within and your moves are based on that feeling, so your hips just kind of follow. Like Shakira, you remember her hips don't lie. And I remember on the dance floor, those hips, man, they never lie. They never lie, ever. I just follow them. It's just natural. So, like a banger like the fifth would come on, God, it was the original banger. I knew there's something about when this hits. That's his fire. So you're dancing with your girl, and you're like, and you're doing your thing. But then there's that weird transition. You're like, what song are they going to play next? They're going to keep it going. You dancing with your girl. Y'all got a connection. And you're like, man, I really hope they don't slow it up because I'm feeling good. I got my moves intact. I'm just following the rhythm. And then all of a sudden you hear and you're like, oh no. Because you're not about to slow dance. You're not about to slow dance at the club or at the middle school dance, So when this hits, you got to kind of play, you kind of play it off, and you go get some punch, or you get that VIP, You hit the VIP section, I get that velvet rope. Yeah, it's funny like that sometimes, man. It's just, I don't know. I don't know if anything's certain anymore. I don't even know if we know. I don't think anybody really knows what's going on. That's what I'm saying. We have no clue what's going on, man. We get these reports. Who knows what's going on, bro? You can't trust the news. They're saying this, they're saying that, they're saying, all this other stuff. It's not hit, So, yeah, but boy, Beethoven, it was a trip because for so long, evidently they traced his DNA in the background, and they found out that he was everybody for so long thought he was a white man, and they gave him credit, for being that original hitter, having those original hits. But then somebody, basically genealogy, or went to that website.com and ancestry.com and found out they're related to him and that he was. And you know what I'm ready for? When it comes down to it, it's all said and done. I think the reality and what we have to look at is we're only on this earth for a very short time. We can make it right because we don't have a long time. It's temporary. And it's hard to kind of accept that. And a lot of people don't know what's going on. You have just as much of an idea of what's going on than, most other people. So it's something else.